Welcome to Scary Thrills, where we bring you the most terrifying real-life horror stories. Tonight's story isn't about ghosts or demons. It's about something far scarier, something real. Imagine living your life as usual, going to work, coming home, and spending time with your loved ones. Until you start noticing something strange, a feeling that someone is watching you. You dismiss it at first. It's just paranoia, right? But then, you notice it again and again. A familiar face in the crowd, a shadow in the distance, an unknown number calling you late at night. And then one day, you realize it's not just in your head. Someone is watching you, and no matter how hard you try to escape, they are always there. This is the terrifying reality that one person in Canada had to live through. A story so disturbing that it changed the way stalking is viewed in the country forever. Tonight, we dive deep into one of the most horrifying stalking cases in Canadian history. A case filled with obsession, fear, and a chilling climax that will leave you questioning just how safe you really are. The story begins with a person living an ordinary life, someone just like you or me. They had no idea that they were about to become the target of an obsessive mind, a mind so disturbed that it would stop at nothing to control and destroy them. It all started with something small, a simple interaction, maybe a casual conversation at work, a polite smile to a stranger, or even something as insignificant as an online comment. The victim had no idea that, in that moment, their life had already changed. At first, there was nothing to worry about, but then strange things started happening. An anonymous message appeared in their inbox. The words seemed harmless at first, maybe even friendly, but something about them felt off. The victim brushed it aside, thinking it was just a random stranger. But then, another message came, and another. Soon, the messages weren't just frequent, they were personal. The sender knew things about the victim, things they had never shared online, their routine, their favorite places, even what they were wearing on a specific day. The realization hit slowly. Someone was watching them, and this was only the beginning. At first, the victim tried to convince themselves it was just a coincidence, but coincidences don't happen every single day. They started noticing the same person in the places they went. First at the grocery store, then at the gym, then near their home. The victim tried to rationalize it. Maybe they just lived in the same area. Maybe they worked nearby. But deep down, an unsettling fear began to grow. One night, they received a phone call. The number was unknown. They picked up. Silence. Then, slow breathing. They hung up, their heart pounding, but the calls didn't stop. Every night, the same thing. No words, just breathing. Then something happened that made them realize this was not just stalking anymore. One morning, they found something outside their door. A small gift, wrapped neatly. There was no name, no note, just a box. With shaky hands, they opened it. Inside was a photo of themselves, taken from behind. Recently, panic set in. They knew they had to act fast. They went to the police. But what they heard next was even more terrifying. We can't do anything unless they physically harm you. Imagine that. Knowing that someone is hunting you, watching you, controlling your life, and being told there's nothing that can be done. The victim's life began to fall apart. They stopped sleeping. Every sound, every shadow felt like a threat. They stopped going out alone. They stopped answering calls. Even their own reflection in the mirror felt unfamiliar. The fear became overwhelming. People around them started to notice their paranoia. Friends told them they were overreacting. Some even laughed it off. It's probably just a prank, they said, but it wasn't. The victim knew it wasn't. One night, they came home and found their door unlocked. They were sure they had locked it before leaving. Heart pounding, they stepped inside, looking around. Everything seemed normal. Nothing was stolen, but something was different. On their bed, there was a note, 3 words written in red ink. "I see you." The victim knew they couldn't stay silent anymore. They packed their bags and left, moving to a different city. For a while, things seemed normal again. The calls stopped. The strange appearances ended. They started to believe it was finally over. Then one night, they woke up to a noise, a soft creak from the hallway. Their heart pounded. Was it just their imagination? They sat up, reaching for their phone. But before they could turn on the light, they felt it, a presence in the room. Their breathing stopped. In the darkness, they could barely make out a shadow. Someone was there, standing in the corner of their bedroom, watching them. They screamed. The figure moved closer. And that's when they saw it, the familiar face of the person they had been running from all this time. The stalker had found them. What happened next was worse than any nightmare. The resolution, the nightmare ends, or does it? The police finally took action. The stalker was arrested. But for the victim, the terror didn't end there. They could no longer trust the world around them. Every person on the street felt like a potential threat. Every unknown number sent them into a panic. And the worst part? The stalker was only sentenced to a few years in prison. In just a short time, they would be free again. The victim's life would never be the same. And the law, it still failed to protect them. The chilling aftermath, the fear never truly fades. Even though the case was over, the horror never really ended. The victim was left with scars, not on their body, but on their mind. They moved to another country, changed their name, tried to start over. But the fear followed them everywhere. And the terrifying truth is, cases like this still happen every single day. Right now, someone is watching their victim. Right now, someone is planning their next move. Right now, someone is living in a nightmare they cannot wake up from. Closing thoughts, leaving the audience in suspense. This case is a chilling reminder that real-life horror is far scarier than any ghost story. Because monsters, they don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they walk among us. If you found this story terrifying, subscribe to Scary Thrills for more real-life horror. And remember, always watch your back.